As technology and science is constantly making life easier, I thought it would be a good idea to speak with somebody who, since they were born, has had all the odds stacked completely against them. In the chat that you're about to listen to, young Cripp, or Donavan, offers his unique perspective on society, gaming, comedy, and his personal life, as well as the many challenges that come with simply existing. If there's anybody you'd like me to reach out to, let me know down in the comments below. And as always, I hope you enjoyed this chat that I had with Cripp Daddy. And it looks like it's recording for me, at least. All right, perfect. Well, let me just go ahead and start out by saying thank you for taking the time and having this conversation with me. There's been a lot of people that I've asked. A lot of people have said yes, and you're actually going to be the second person that I've actually gotten into a call with at this point. Like, I've had a lot of people say yes, but you're the second person that I've actually recorded. I'm not sure where you're going to take up, what spot, because I think I might want to place you strategically somewhere where I know it'll get the most attention, because there's a lot of things that I feel like I can ask you that I'm going to get a really good answer from.
No pressure, though. Right. Yeah,
no. Actually, no. There really isn't. Like, so first of all, tell me a little bit about like your disability and like what it is that you're doing on a daily basis that like fucking sucks, or does it suck? Does it not suck?
So like, I think the most common misconception is that everybody kind of looks at it as like, you're such an inspiration, man. You're doing great things. You make me really happy. And like, that's all good. I'm happy about that. I'm not gonna shit on anybody's viewpoints and whatever. But like, at the end of the day, I'm just waking up, jacking off, and eating food like everyone else.
Right. I think that's pretty accurate of a lot of people. I think that's what makes this kind of show so good, is that a regular jagoff asking questions to people that
hell yeah
are constantly perceived as above normal human activity, which is why I think it's really great that you just said that, because when I talk to some of these people, I know that a lot of people put it in the back of their mind like, oh yeah, this person wakes up, jacks off, and eats food just like I do. Which I don't want to break the fourth wall too much, like, ruin somebody's entire week. Like, oh no, how am I going to live with Markiplier jerking off in the back of my head?
Happily. That's how you live with it.
Exactly. I've noticed that, like, you tweet a lot of, like, really interesting pieces of content. Like, do you think that there's a disability blanket there? Like, where you can say whatever you want because, like, you're in a wheelchair? Or do you think that, like, you have that wit that gets away with it? Because I think you have the wit that gets away with it, but I think that people also take the things that you say and they go, well, he kind of has the shit end of the stick.
That's actually, I think when I first started... Okay, well, first of all, hold on, before anything else, I really love, like, the very blanketed statement of, like, you tweet interesting things. Because that's one way to put it, for sure. The way I would put it is I say the most ridiculous fucking shit because it's funny to me.
Well, absolutely, and by all means do that.
Yeah.
I just said interesting as because it goes. There's a spectrum on it. There's definitely a spectrum on the shit that you say.
Without a doubt, no, for sure. I think I always get worried whenever people like that know me in real life are like, "Oh, dude, I found you on Twitter." I'm like, "Ooh, yeah, cool. Let me know how that goes."
Whoops. Hey, if you still want to talk to me after that.
But I don't know. Maybe I do think that for sure there are some people that will be like, I usually would hate that, but like, how can I get mad at him? And I'd take full advantage of that. I will happily admit that, because like, why wouldn't I?
Right. I think that's kind of like what Ricky does. Like Ricky with his, he is actually modern day Reply Girl. Like, if Ricky wasn't disabled, could you imagine there being just a regular guy who was constantly replying with video through other people's tweets? And that's what Reply Girls were doing. Ricky has a more, like, very weird, out there approach. And I think that's because, like, maybe he had experience in the past where people just look at him and go, whoa, what the fuck? And maybe he embraced that. And I think that's what he did, and why his and his sense of humor, I think, has probably gained him that extra advantage, because he can meme.
I think that it's funny because me and Ricky like kind of came around at the same time. I think Ricky was doing it differently, obviously, because I didn't even really plan
Right.
on being where I'm at right now. It's just happening. And like, that's kind of the funny thing about that is like people will ask me all the time, like, how did you get to where you are, man? Like, how does it feel? Like, how long have you been doing shit? And I'm like, I didn't plan for any of it, man. I'm just here. I've been fucking winging it.
Shit posting gone wrong.
Yeah, like I didn't know.
Or right.
Depending on how you look at it. So it's scary because like the more and more attention that gets thrown at me, the more and more I'm like, I have no idea what I'm fucking doing. These people are like, you guys are having expectations, and I hope that they are low.
Right. Have you ever had the above and beyond moment, like where you were creating a piece of content, you're like, I need to this one needs to top my last piece of content. Like I need to buckle down and come up with something like just archaic and amazing.
Oh yeah.
Or is it just like you put out whatever you feel like and it just always hits because you're just being yourself?
See, it started off with just myself, and then at some point, and I think it's going to happen with any content creator, no matter what you do or how you do it, you hit that point where you're like, oh man, I have to do something right now. It's got to be bigger. It's got to be better. And that shit will stress you the fuck out. It is so terrible. I hate it. I hate that feeling. I don't know how, like, YouTubers can do that for a fucking living. I can't.
On a daily basis.
So one day I just stopped. And now I only just do shit because I want to do it.
That's honestly, if you're not doing it because you want to do it or because it's fun for you, it shows in your content. I mean, I've been making videos off and on for a really long time. Like, I was in the Army, and I would plan out a specific set schedule. Like, okay, I'm going to upload on these days and stream on these days, and then all of a sudden my entire work schedule would change. So now all of a sudden I'm not making content consistently. The numbers that I was getting, I'm no longer getting. I've got to start from ground zero, and I've been doing that off and on for a really long time. But I also noticed that I wasn't making the type of content that I really, really enjoyed making. Like this stuff, there's two things that I'm very good at. I'm good at talking, and I'm good at networking. I'm actually a lot better at talking than I was from the first video that I had just recently uploaded from 2017. I'm much more clairvoyant, and I have my thoughts put together a lot better. I think there was a lot of things that happened. I had suffered head trauma that actually kind of knocked some things in the right place instead of out, into a different direction. Like I could have come out of that dumb, but I came out of it, I think, a little bit better. But this
You're like
is
a fucking modern day Daredevil.
Yeah, right. Just all of a sudden something changes, and it was good. It was good because now I'm doing what I'm good at. I'm really good at selling things, and I'm really good at marketing and talking to people, but only when it's other people. Only when I'm marketing for somebody else or when I'm selling somebody else's product. I finally found something that I'm good at, which is networking and talking, just being the regular jack-off that gets in contact with crazy people, like people that I shouldn't have any access to at the state that I'm at, and just having these normal conversations, it kind of exposes two sides of the world, where you have you on the content creation side where you're starting to experience your massive growth, whereas the best I've ever done on YouTube was 5K subs, and like I made RuneScape videos, so that got traction depending on what I was talking about, and usually I was bitching. So
hell yeah.
Just I don't know. It all trickles down in that, like, the initial surge that I gotten from that first video was definitely what I needed to see to say, okay, this is a good thing. What was your green light when you, like, what was the video that you posted, the piece of content that you posted that was like, okay, I need to be fucking doing this?
Well, probably my first ever video, the first one I ever uploaded, because I never made content up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of in the inner circles with a few different YouTubers at that time on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of replying to them like Ricky, except not retarded. I was actually having conversations and like joking around with them. And I started becoming friends with them. So when I was like, yeah, I'll do a video, I didn't expect to get any views. I was just like, yeah, fucking whatever. And my first ever video had like 1,000 views in like the first 24 hours, and I didn't have that
crazy.
many subs. So I was like, whoa, what the fuck? Really? Okay.
let's see, where it goes after that. I remember the only good Twitter video I had was me climbing into a garbage. I keep calling it garbage receptacle for some reason, and it's because every time I tell the story about the homeless guy that lives right outside of my house, I call it the garbage receptacle because he like fucking sleeps right behind the big. I'm having a hard time even now thinking of the word dumpster.
Right. Okay.
Anyway, so I climbed into a dumpster with a bunch of raccoons, and that was like 50, 60K views, and that was the only video that ever did good. And it was because I think I talked about not wanting to get rabies because I had no health insurance. I think that resonated with a lot of people.
That's fucking great. No, that's amazing.
I really like raccoons, and they were all going to die because it was Sunday night and Monday's trash day in Florida. So, like, they were all trapped in there. There was like 5 of them, so I had to climb in there and get them out. I actually had to try like MacGyvering my way into there and not getting bit, and then I had to create like this path for them to go up, which wound up being I don't know, whatever state you live in, 7-Eleven probably exists. So like how 7-Eleven has trash cans that double as ashtrays, like there's an ashtray on top and then the garbage can on the side, or like the places to put the stuff. So I took out the ashtray on top, and they were able to climb in from the front and up through the top, then use the top of the trash can as leverage to get that extra inch. And it took me like an hour and a half. I still have a ton of footage from that night, but it was literally just like, I have to climb in here and get these guys out, otherwise I won't be able to sleep.
Oh,
it's a little weird.
No, I get
but it
that.
made viral Twitter
I would
content.
totally do the same thing.
So, like, speaking of like doing the same thing, like, what's the craziest thing that you've ever done despite your disability?
Oh wow, how that is.
Like, you can't walk, right?
No, not even a little bit.
Not even a little. Okay. So what's the craziest thing you can say that, like, oh fuck, I've done that? Like, who else has done what I've done in my position? Like, what's something crazy that you've done?
Oh wow, that's actually a pretty good question. I guess right off the bat, the first thing that comes to mind is like, I don't know if this is the most like what's the word I'm looking for, like advertiser friendly story, but like
I don't care.
I remember like being able to smoke with like one of my favorite punk bands of all time.
Punk bands? What kind of music do you listen to? You listen to like punk rock?
Yeah, oh yeah. I love like hardcore, ska, folk punk, like just anything that like is conventionally not good. I'm like, yes. If it's like a dude screaming about how angry or how sad he is, I'm about that.
What are your top 3 bands?
My favorite band of all time is The Misfits. I love both Glenn and Michael Graves as the frontmen. They were both great. Then after that, oh man, it all varies, but it's always going to be either.
Like, you got to get tickets if they're in town.
Ooh, well, the Misfits are doing a reunion show in Chicago, which is not too far from where I am, and I bought my tickets so quick because I was like, fuck yeah. But a lot of like the newer bands that I see, that one that I was telling you about, they're Against Me. They're fucking great. I love them, and I did a video on them. It's the first concert I ever went to them. I almost died. And that's not like oh my god, I saw them and I almost died. No, like literally the ambulance was called. I was in the fucking like parking lot of the venue, not breathing.
What is your condition? I never asked you that. What is it that you have?
I have spinal muscular atrophy type 2.
So that's like you shake anytime you don't have pressure on you constantly, right?
It's pretty much like think ALS, but not as bad.
Like, you're not going to lose your ability to speak?
No, I won't.
Okay.
But like the atrophy thing, like I still have feeling all throughout my body. Yes, my fucking penis works. Everybody asks.
I wasn't going to ask you that, honestly.
Oh, no.
I did not give a shit.
No, it's just a question that gets brought up so fucking religiously.
Why do you think that is?
Because I make like sex jokes, and people automatically assume like, he's in a wheelchair, he has sex. What? They can't wrap their brain around that for some reason.
Right. Like, I can understand that. I mean, people are typically oblivious to disabilities. I'm not gonna go on a this is a society thing.
No, go ahead.
Like, there's a lot of disabilities that people just don't like. I don't fully understand your disability. I'm super empathetic to the things you can and can't do, but I'll never really truly be able to understand until I've ever been in that position. But like, I know that it must have been scary at first. Is there anything that you're like really scared of, like actually scared of in life? Like with all the challenges you've had to go through, probably. Like, what is the scariest thing that you can think of?
Legitimately, like, as dark as it is, dying. I know
Dying,
that's
really?
like, because the thing is, I have like almost died too many times. I have so many like this one time I almost died stories that like. It's ridiculous.
It's adding up.
Yeah.
It's starting to add up. Okay.
It feels like I'm in a bad episode of, like, The Twilight Zone, where it's just, I think I'm dead, but then I wake up and I'm like, oh, shit. Again? Yeah. So it is scary, because, like, I like, and the whole self-deprecation meme of, like, oh, fucking, I want to die, it's so dumb to me, because I'm like, why? Life is great.
Yeah.
I love life.
People don't realize like how awesome life is. Like, there's a 400 trillion to 1 chance that you are a human. Yeah. Based off of everything in the galaxy, that you had a 400 trillion to 1 chance to be a human being, and you're wasting it on stupid shit. And it took me a really long time to kind of wake up from that, because I remember, like, I was in the Army, and when I hate to be that guy, because it prefaces what I'm about to say. Like, I've been married twice. I bought a house. I lost my house. I'm filing for bankruptcy. Like, I've had a lot of stupid shit happen to me that have put me from bottom to top, back to bottom again. And I look at my life, and as long as I can remain objective, it's never a dull moment. Like, I'm always having a good time, despite dealing with a lot more than the normal 23-year-old. And it's been great, because that added perspective allows me to give better advice. My intuition tells me that I can help people, and when I change that verbiage around, it doesn't sound like I'm kind of preaching to somebody who's going through a hard time that's in my age bracket. And it's also allowed me to remain as objective as possible, because I'm super empathetic and sympathetic to a lot of situations now, which I wasn't before.
No, and that's a good way to be. I think I've been that way for as long as I can remember, just because I do chalk that up with the disability and learning how to interact with people just naturally, because I'm a people watcher. I was as a child, and I picked up on how people emote during certain situations or whatever, so like I empathized a lot, and I think that played a lot into how I interact with everybody. And how I just am okay with life.
Just everything that happens.
Yeah.
You just kind of accept it as it is. I think when people take more personal responsibility for the things that happen, it opens up new doors. And one of the things that I realized is that old James started a lot of fires that now new James, has to put out. And it's like, it mostly has to do with like financial stuff that I had just not taken care of, or I tried to sweep under the rug, or stuff like that. And that's okay, because, if you don't work on your character a little bit every day, you're never going to get the person that's, trapped beneath the ice, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to chip away until I get that final, as perfect as I can get, like, and trying to just always add value to somebody's day, and to be a little bit more proactive in that, because it does take you very far in life when you're able to add more than you take, and I'm just trying to strive for that every day. And like, I see that you do that. Do you think that your content is a way to add value to somebody's life, and to add like the relief, or do you do it just because you think that it's funny, people find it funny, or is there a deeper meaning behind it, like behind why you create content?
That's a good question, actually, because I bounce around, I feel. My favorite pieces of art, whether it be in terms of like movies or comedy or whatever, it always has like an underlying deeper meaning while also being absolutely fucking hilarious. But that takes a lot of talent, and I don't know if I'm that talented. So a lot of the times I just make jokes because I think it's funny. But if somebody can take something from that, whether it's just a laugh or like a deeper meaning, then like, hey, that's cool. You know, I'm not going to tell somebody how to interpret whatever I do. If you can get anything from it, cool. That's awesome.
That's actually the same stance that Billie Eilish that she takes to her content. I think she was asked a similar question on Hot Ones, and she just kind of says like, I'm tired of artists telling people how to interpret their art.
Oh yeah.
And you know, when you take this standoff approach to it and say, okay, well, I just want to be interpreted however y'all want to interpret it. And I think that's actually kind of cool.
Oh, without a doubt.
Especially because you just, you know, you don't have to really worry too much about like the when or the why or the how. You just let people come up with that on their own.
Exactly, because I think if you have a message and you want to push that out, then you can. But I like being able to just do something. And if somebody can tell me, like, this is what I took from that, I almost get more fascinated because I'm like, I never would have thought that. That's actually kind of interesting and cool. But I hate when people, like, analytically break down shit for just overkill. Like, for example, recently, Netflix just came out with a new show called Love, Death, and Robots. I don't know if you watched it at all.
I saw it was recommended to me as popular now on Netflix, which I'm like, it's only been out for a day. How could it possibly be popular on Netflix?
It is fucking amazing. It is so good.
Is it?
To me, I'm very picky with, like, anything cinematic or, like, whatever. When it comes to, like, film and, like, TV, I'm pretty pretentious. I won't lie to you.
I agree. I call myself a movie cynic, not a movie critic.
Yeah.
Critic.
Exactly.
I'm way too over. Like, my favorite producer of all time, I'm sure you've seen Django Unchained, and like he does so many different style of movie in the same way.
Yeah.
That is what's it called?
Tarantino?
Tarantino, Quentin Tarantino. He does so many different styles of movie, but in the same way. It's choreographed perfectly. The storytelling is on point. Yep. And same thing with Free State of Jones. I don't know who directed that, but that guy deserved a lot more than whatever he got. I'm sure he didn't get enough. Free State of Jones was an amazing movie. It was well produced. It was a roller coaster of emotions.
Good.
But now that I'm finally hearing, I never knew that there was a market for movie cynics. So I'm gonna have to check it out. What was it called again? You said it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots. Okay.
I'm also a big sucker for like good animation, like actually good animation. And this shit has been so fucking beautiful because the whole thing is like think Black Mirror, but not Black Mirror, and it's animated. Every episode is its own contained thing, and there's different styles of animation, and they're really short. They're like, you know, anywhere from 8 to 20 minutes or so. But each episode has its own little thing. And when I went to go look up the episode list on Google, there's like YouTube video after YouTube video of like every ending explained. And I'm like, why do you fucking need that? Why just fucking watch it? What do you mean?
And try to interpret it for yourself. And then, I mean, I don't ever go and watch like the after, like even though they've had them, like, so The Walking Dead, like I haven't been keeping up with The Walking Dead because I've watched from 1st to 7th season over and over and over again. Because I used to play RuneScape, so I'd have a lot of background noise, and anytime I was doing a tedious task, I would just turn on an old show that I know that I'm going to enjoy watching. But like even still, like I didn't watch interviews of the actors until 6, 7 seasons in, or 6, 7 years in, because I don't want to know anything about the actor. I don't want to have anything in my head. I just want to interpret it how it is, and I don't want to know like the underlying thing unless they want you to know that there's an underlying thing that's going congruently with the show. Like I didn't want to know. First of all, I didn't want to know that Naruto's voice actor was like a semi-overweight 47-year-old woman. Like it just now every time I look at her, well, have you ever seen a picture of her?
I don't, and I didn't know that, but now I'm gonna laugh about that for the rest of my life.
Okay, remember the lady that was on The Voice for like the UK that had like the golden voice?
Yeah,
she sang the opera. Susan Boyle. She looks like Susan Boyle if Susan Boyle was like 15 years younger. Pretty much, exactly. But like, so when Rick Grimes is like, yeah, I've had a wonderful time on the show The Walking Dead. It's been fantastic. I'm like, what are you? Where is your voice? Where did it go? And I obviously I forget that voice acting is a thing as somebody who can do a shitload of voices. I don't.
You're not thinking
think
that
of
when
it.
you want. You
I don't
want,
think of it.
Of course.
So having that said, what is your favorite movie? Like your go-to movie series? The thing that you'll rewatch once a year. For me, mine's Harry Potter. Harry Potter is like always on the list of things to watch once a year. But what's your go-to movie?
Oh wow. I think my favorite movie, personally, is a little flick called SLC Punk.
SLC Punk.
It was a Sony classic film, starring Matthew Leonard. It's about just him and his best friend at Salt Lake City at the time during like I think the 80s, and they were like the first two like hardcore punk rock dudes, and it's just kind of a comedy, like it's just a little story about what that's like and how it was, and it really resonated with me at the time when I first watched it, and it just hit home, and I was like connected with it in such a way that I haven't had with a movie before, that nothing can kind of replace that. It's just a really good little movie.
So that sounds like your entire life in some way or another kind of surrounds itself around music. So it seems like you're into a lot of music stuff, you know, whether it's punk and going to shows, or your favorite movie is surrounded by, you know, punk and that kind of era. Have you ever listened to like metal, black metal, or anything like that? Do you know a whole lot about the metal scene? Or is it just punk?
I know a little bit, yeah. Because I think what it was, I did, growing up, it was, of course, looking for a sense of identity. And you tried to find all these different subcultures that you could connect with or do something. And punk was just kind of the thing that felt right to me at the time, because I didn't feel like anything else made sense. But here was this group of people that were like dingy, dirty, didn't give a fuck, and were just like, yeah, dude, be yourself, man. And I was like, yeah, fucking right, that's what I'm saying. And the thing that taught me, though, was a movement or a genre of music or a scene, if you will, it's not gonna define you. And if you let it define you, you're just a fucking tool. I don't know. That's just the way I took it, because people take it way too seriously. And if you want to get even deeper with it, I feel that's the way it is with a lot of things in life. People get wrapped up in like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat, I'm this, I'm that, I'm gay, I'm straight, I'm white, I'm black, and it's like, I fucking calm down,
Who cares?
Man. You're a person.
But the thing is, like, when you say, as two white guys saying "who cares," there's obviously deep-seated issues that people like to say. Doubt. Well, you don't respect X and Y, and I really like that, because it opens up the new conversation, which is like, you know, if anybody who's ever looked like you has done it, what's your excuse? And I think that that's what I take away from a lot of the things that Gary Vee says, is like, it doesn't matter where you grew up, how much money you have in your pocket right now, what kind of trauma you've had in your family history, your background, where you're at right now. If anybody that's ever looked like you, that's come from a similar background, has done it, has made it, has done something, what the fuck is your excuse?
100%.
You know, and it's
100%.
like, if you suffocate your bullshit, if you suffocate your excuses, you can literally accomplish, you know, anything that you want.
Well, I 100% would agree with that.
I mean, like, even for you, content creation, free content creation would be super difficult with your limitations. Like, it's easier for me to make a video than it would be for you. Like, if I wanted to do something more proactive, but you still fucking doing it, and you're actually doing it at a rate that's much more successful than I've ever done it, right? So you have the formula, you can do it, you have the personality, you have all the tools. The only thing that's stopping you is whether or not you want to upload that day. So it's awesome to see somebody who, you know, actually is proactively taking a look at their content and making more of it, despite whatever challenges that they have to go through, because there's no fucking excuses in your house. There's no excuses.
No, and that, I think that stemmed from a lot of my upbringing. Like, my my mom was 16 when she got pregnant with me. And so she didn't know that she was going to have like a little fucking crippled ass child. So when it was already hard enough being like, I'm a teenager, now I'm a mother.
Right.
And my grandpa, her dad, obviously, was with her the moment they diagnosed me with my disease, because I wasn't walking at the right age, and I was struggling a bit. So they did a bunch of tests, blah, blah, blah. I was diagnosed. My mom came home, sat me down in the living room. She went into her room and she just started crying. Fucking losing her shit, didn't know what to do. And my grandpa, who was a very hard but firm, understanding guy, sat down with my mom and said, listen, you need to stop that shit right now, because you're not helping him with that.
Right.
With crying. He said, what you need to do is go back out there and just treat him like you were every day for the rest of his life. Is it going to be different? Yeah. But that doesn't mean you let that define him. You just keep going the way you were. It's going to be a little different, yeah, but he's still a kid. He's still your son.
Right.
And that's the way it always was.
Human emotion is very complicated, super selfish too. Like, being caught up in grief for so long for some people can really be a detriment to their growth.
Oh, God,
if you lose somebody, if you lose a loved one, if you break up with somebody, it's like grief will tear you apart. It's like, if you died tomorrow, let's say we're really, really close. If you died tomorrow and I spent the next 6 months crying about it, how does that help? You're the one that's dead. That sucks the most. Like, you're the one that's gone. It's just, people are just so selfish, and they want more time, and regret, and regret is poison. It's so poisonous and toxic to moving on from your day-to-day life and actually accomplishing the things that you want to accomplish. And I think that a little bit of the grief or the blame from that, I'm sure, is what triggered that initial response. But that pull your head out of your ass moment, that backing up into the corner for your mom, is probably what set you onto the best possible path. Because if you imagine, had you been babied or not been given the same opportunities because, I'm not sure if he can handle it, where would you be now? You wouldn't. I would really not know.
Oh yeah, no, because that's the thing. I went to do you know Jerry's Kids, the MDA Association?
No, I don't.
They do like they're the Muscular Dystrophy Association. They do a summer camp and a bunch of other things every year. They have programs and whatnot, blah blah blah. But they have a summer camp that I had gone since the age of 5 to like 18 every year religiously. And it's just a camp for a bunch of disabled kids, and they spend time in a week just doing, camp shit, a bunch of fun stuff. But you get a wide variety of different types of disabled people, and I remember being around kids my age, and it was so dramatically different because of the way they were raised. Like you said, some of them were more than likely babied and coddled. So they had this, like, I don't know. I'm just kidding. They were fucking little pieces of shit. They were just fucking self-entitled, like, right now, I need this. And it's like, go fuck yourself, man.
Yeah. Kind of shitty.
I didn't understand it. I was just like, wow, why is this guy a fucking piece of shit?
Well, I mean, speaking of pieces of shit, did Shane Dawson come on his cat?
I mean, without a doubt, I would have. I would have came on his cat. Have you seen his cat? His cat's hot as fuck.
See, this is where I can tell it's a joke, but like when I was listening back into the thing, it was like he was telling a story about how one time he came on his cat, and there wasn't like a punchline. It was like it was like
there wasn't.
Hey guys, this one time. Okay, it's gonna sound really weird, but I was at a feminist reptile convention. And the guy, the reptile judge, walked up to the stand and misgendered the chameleon. He got 3.5 years in prison for misgendering the chameleon at the feminist reptile convention. Is that the truth or not? Am I like, where's the joke? Where's the punchline? Like, obviously, the joke and punchline is that I was gaslighting the fuck out of you, you know. But I mean, obviously, you knew that, so it wasn't as funny. But like, but the thing is, like, if I were just to say that without any prior context, a lot of people believe me when I say that shit, especially in person, because like I'll be talking about something different and I'll just make some shit up to see, does this person believe me, right? Not so much on the internet, because the internet's harder to fool people, but he was in the middle of a conversation with somebody and it just kind of started happening. Like, the conversation started happening about him fucking his cat, and like he went into intimate detail. It's almost like, have you ever been in a Discord call with somebody and you're like, you know, I'll fuck your mom. Ah, that's funny, because my mom actually died in a car accident 4.5 years ago, and it was really sad. Me and my dad were real beat up about it. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why did you even say all that information? Just And so I feel like he just overproduced information there, either because he fucked his cat and he thought that that would be a funny story to tell people, or he really doesn't know what comedy really is.
Well, I mean, if the way I look at it, if you look back at the type of humor that Shane was doing at that time,
right?
It was all like that. It was very like, oh,
shock value shit.
How can I be as offensive and weird and obscure as possible without
like truly doing anything terribly wrong?
Exactly. Like he
well, I mean
the dude was doing blackface, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, and I remember those Shane Dawson days. Like, actually, the only memories I have of Shane Dawson is like him doing blackface and shit like that. Like, that's the only real thing that I remember of Shane Dawson.
Oh yeah, no, and like, so I mean, the way I would look at it is, if you can look at all of his content from that time, and then look at that and still think like, yeah, no, he fucked his cat, you're just looking to be angry at somebody, or
that really there's no reason to be upset.
To me, not really, because
that makes a lot of sense.
Even on the off chance he like just came on his cat, like, fucking his cat's fine.
With more or less with what Shane Dawson is going through right now, it's the same thing that's happened to James Charles, the same thing that happened to Keemstar, the same thing that happens to literally everybody. The cancel culture has kind of taken over, where people only look to see what they really, really want to see versus what's actually happening.
Yeah,
and I think that's really toxic, because like I've said a lot of shit over the last 12 years.
Oh yeah,
that is probably like not the best, but like I was never. Like, never in my life have I ever really been racist. I've never actually truly been racist in my entire life. I've never really been homophobic. You know, as somebody who's been like, I'm around so many different types of people that I just love people. You know, like there's no room in my heart for any type of hate. At least not true hate. Like, I hate people. I hate pedophiles. I hate pedophiles and I hate rapists. So, I mean, that's kind of like a common ground type thing. Like, everybody kind of hates those people already.
Yeah.
But like when you dig up somebody's past like that, the intimate past, especially like when their content now doesn't reflect that at all. Most people subscribe to Shane Dawson over the last 2-3 years because his content was kind of doing the plateau thing that most YouTubers go through. Like, if they stop producing content for a large period of time, they kind of just don't have an audience anymore, so they create a new audience like he did. So I think that's kind of what it is. That's shock value.
Yeah, and see, I think because another thing that I hear a lot, like kind of in the same realm of like cancel culture and shit, is people saying like, "Oh, you can't make jokes like that. You can't say these things." And I disagree entirely. I 100% am under the belief you can literally joke about everything and anything, but you have to do it right.
Absolutely. I'm 100% on board with that. I know for a fact that that's the case. Louis C.K. got away with it for so long until he jerked off on some people.
He's one of my favorite comedians.
Because it's funny. Because it was actually funny. Like, he wasn't saying anything racially charged or insensitive.
No.
I mean, outside of how you view what the N word or whatever he was saying, making fucking all kinds of jokes, but then you find out that that person's a creep, and it's like, maybe that wasn't so funny because maybe it had a little bit of this guttural truth to it,
right?
But maybe it doesn't, And for a lot of people, there is really no meaning behind some of the things that they say. Words do have power, but I don't feel like the feelings of a minority group, not race specific, but of people who get upset. So the people who get upset at the jokes, I don't think that their voice really should matter unless they're actually taking, an objective look at what was said and why it was wrong, and then making a point to say, like, okay, this is wrong for this reason. And sometimes you can't even get that out of them.
And it's really interesting the like bias that people almost have with certain things, and they don't realize that. They let that cloud themselves, and if you try and point that out, it's just they dismiss it. Like, I'm not taking a stance on this on any means. I just think it's really like funny to think about in comparison. Like, do you remember not too long ago, like that girl that was from Alabama wanting to come back to America because she left to join fucking ISIS?
No, I've never seen that.
That was a thing. That was a fucking thing. She was like pleading her case to like come back to America because she left to join ISIS. And there was a whole wave of people like, we have to bring her back. We have to save her. We have to get her. And I'm like, but Louis C.K. can't make fucking jokes anymore?
Yeah, but she left to join... Wait, so what you're saying is that she left the United States and went where? Iran? Pakistan?
Yeah, I think it was somewhere in the Middle East. I don't want to, like,
wow.
be the one to be like, yeah, fucking Iraq. I don't know.
And she left to join
the Middle East. Yeah, 100%. She was raised in, like, a really... super religious, like, I think Christian Catholic thing, and she was so, like, tired of being, quote unquote oppressed, that she went and fucking started talking to somebody from the Middle East who was like, hey, we'll give you freedom. ISIS.
I love... Well, this is where this takes its first real political turn of the day. I think it is laughable that women in America believe that they're oppressed in any way, shape, or form. I have never in my entire life, and I think that being in the military showed me that, like, women are still capable of doing literally any job. At 18, I was like, the reason why I joined and my ex-wife didn't is because I was like, oh, women in the military, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to have. I don't want to think about you going over there and like something happening. I'll do it because I didn't have anything going on like in my life. She was in school and she did a couple other things like jobs, and so I was like, let me do it. But then when I joined the military, I'm like, there are women here that are like really physically fit and they're really capable of doing everything. That kind of changed my whole perspective on that. But coming out of this and then seeing what people are and aren't complaining about as far as like what are and aren't women's issues. Go take a look at Iran. I mean, Iraq, anywhere with Sharia law, and if you think you have it bad here in the States, I mean, it is really crazy. Even in some places that it's technically considered first world, it's still pretty bad.
Yeah, and it's sad because like those are just like they fucking get Shapiro over here. Those are facts. That's just the way it is. But when people say like you're not oppressed. That's not people saying you don't have problems.
Right.
You obviously have problems. Everybody has fucking problems. Like that's going to happen. But you have the same opportunities as everybody else. And that's what it boils down to. Like you were saying, women...
That's what's so amazing about it. America. That's what's so great about America is that if you're a young female in her early 20s and you want to go and work somewhere, like... all the opportunities I've been given were because like I've been annoying enough or I've shown my worth to the point of being offered or afforded opportunity. But there's tons of people who have it easier than me, both men and women. It just depends on what you're trying to go for. But if you're going to sit here and complain about a gap in wages when you have literally zero qualifications, you got your degree in something that doesn't matter, that has no real world application.
Looking at you art students.
And then you want to talk about how underpaid you are. you're just overvaluing your time. Everybody who overvalues their time always loses. So I think that is something that will have to get ironed out over the next couple years if this, generation is to survive like another big hit, like if the Great Depression were to make its ugly head around again or something of the nature, something crazy like that where people have to really buckle down and work fucking hard for almost nothing.
Oh yeah, like that's like you were saying with women in the army. So my entire life I've kind of been surrounded by people that really prove everything wrong that society says is a thing. Like, oh, women feel like they're depressed, or they're not strong, or they're not. My aunt's a fucking like retired Marine that tried to join the Green Berets. She's a fucking badass. She's like one of the most hardcore like sons of bitches that I fucking know. She scares me. I've seen her wrestle legitimate professional UFC fighters and take them down without problem.
It's all about like what your determination level is. Like obviously there's some physical and there, it's all physical limitations. Like if you wanna be as strong as somebody who already has a biological testosterone level of 300-400 while yours is at 0, you probably are gonna have to take a shitload of drugs to get to the point that you want to get to.
Yeah.
But most of the things in life are all mental blockers. Like the reason why this channel even exists is because for almost a year and a half, I put it in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to work. Like the people aren't going to want to listen to what I had to say, or they're not going to want to listen to the conversation that I had with Medicare. And I let other people's opinions put that mental stressor on me for so long that I just didn't do it. And, here I am with my second conversation. I have a couple more lined up, and I'm so mad at myself for letting other people put me down to that point. Like there's just any opportunity that you want to seize, you start by reverse engineering the process, but like it's all about your level of determination. And I think that comes with overcoming any obstacle in life. And if anybody has ever looked like you, then they've done it, what's your excuse? I think it comes back to that too.
No, that's a really good way of putting it.
So if your time has been spent, if you've been in a wheelchair for pretty much your entire life, if your time has been spent mostly behind a computer screen, did you ever play any like MMOs when you were growing up, or do you play any games now?
I used to play a lot more games when I was younger. I still dabble in them now. I think I use video games more as kind of a side hobby than it is like I wouldn't necessarily identify as a gamer. I just fucking like to casually play some shit. But my favorite games are always like good RPGs. Like I will always go back to New Vegas and like Earthbound. Earthbound's probably my favorite RPG. Earthbound,
interesting. And New Vegas is even one of those classic titles. I loved, as a kid growing up, I loved Half-Life.
Oh yeah,
and Team Fortress and like the orange box. I even got a tattoo on my arm of the Lambda. And I remember that it was the game that got me into the games. What was like the first game that you ever played that you were like, okay, I gotta play more games? Like what's next after this? So what was that game for you?
Oh man,
like what was the game that you sat down and you were like, I am enthralled right now. I need to be playing more of these, whatever this is.
I think it was the one that really settled it was Skyrim. Like I remember the hype around Skyrim and everything that happened with that. I spent like months nonstop, like waking up, eating, and then just playing for the rest of the day until like I laid down for like months, just playing Skyrim.
That's awesome.
Till one day I was like, man, I'm really burnt out on this game. I've done everything that I wanted to do, that I can do, so let's just put this down for a little bit. But not too long after that, I was like, man, I want something else though. Then that's when I discovered Fallout.
I've always been mystified by the voice acting of the Bethesda games. Like you have in Skyrim, it's very fantasy. You have like there's a dragon in Helgen. Why the rumors, they must be true. Like it's very Dutch and or Nordic, and then you have like the Fallout series where everybody just kind of talks the same way, and the NPCs have like their own unique dialogue, and I think that was kind of, for me, playing Oblivion was like the first time that I ever got interested in voice acting and voice work because of how ridiculous some of the voices were, and how crazy the content that you could experience, and like how random it really felt. I think that put it together for me. Like after Half-Life and getting into first-person type games, it was like I kind of fell down the same rabbit hole that most people did.
Oh yeah, no, I get that entirely. I think if I think about voice acting in a game, which one really? It was Psychonauts. Psychonauts is so fucking great.
I don't think I've ever played that. What is it about?
Man, it's so fucking good. It's a really trippy platformer. Voiced, the main actor is the guy who does Zim from Invader Zim. And he is a part of this like psychic group team that like goes in and interprets dreams and like tries to like do different missions and like saves people from. It's so fucking weird and obscure and fucking funny and good and dark. I just love that
the art
shit.
style is very interesting. I'm looking at it right now. The art style seems very, very interesting.
I love shit like that. I like, if it's weird and dark, I will eat that shit up.
I think that like we all have our favorites, and the more that we dive deeper into, you know, one particular piece of content, we find 1,000 more that we could potentially be interested in, which is why I really love the internet, because obviously, you know, you look up Skyrim videos and now you're in a rabbit hole of Skyrim content creation and shit like that. What are your other interests? Like, what do you, if there's anything in your future, like in 10 years, you plan to be where? Or do you not plan that far ahead? Because that 10 years seems like a long time for some people, but like I know what I would want in 10 years, or at least to be the, you know, the baseline measurement of success, or baseline measurement of like where I want to go. So what's your like, what's your goals? Like what kind of long-term goals do you have that you're trying to achieve right now?
Well, if my life has taught me anything, I tend not to think like that. Not in a, I don't shit on people that do that. If you want to do that, that's more than fine, man. Have fun with that. I think with me, it's not the best idea to do that. Not because, not to get dark, but like literally, I'm not promised tomorrow. And I know that's everybody, but like there's a greater chance with me on some regard.
Yeah, like
so I kind of,
there's a lot less variables affecting the rest of us, but a lot more that affect you.
And so based off that, I just kind of had to take a while to accept like my own existence and how I just deal with it. And so ultimately it's just I take it day by day. I have like some things that I look forward to and would like to see, but as far as, you know, years down the line, who knows? I'll get there when I get there.
That's awesome. I think that the pragmatic optimist approach works well.
I stay hopeful
because you know you remain positive but realistic, and that's kind of how I choose to stay at any given time. Just because there's always that level of like, what if, what could happen, and I don't ever like falling down that rabbit hole. And I know you said that you're afraid of death, and the way that I combat that feeling of being afraid of death is that I always remember that, like, the fact that I exist is it's just so astronomically against me. And like, life is just one big game of D&D, you know, and I've stopped letting people with no arms tell me how to roll my dice, if that makes sense. So I try to live my life every day as if I'm making strategic decisions to get to the end game, which the end game for me is just to have, you know, health, wealth, love, and happiness, and just kind of live my life like that. And I think that should be everybody's general goal. It's just to get those things that make you feel good they're all unconditional, right? Like things that make you feel good unconditionally. I think that's kind of where I'm looking at as far as like my big goal.
No, you're right, because I learned a long time ago that people seem to. I don't mean this as like a pretentious way. It's just naturally what I've grown to see from my own personal experience that people are chasing kind of a false sense of happiness. It seems a lot of people are. They think, I need this degree. This will work. This is going to be the thing that gets me to where I need to be in life, and I'll be happy. Because it's like, oh, I'll make money. Oh, I'll find, a good significant other. And then you get there and you find out, like, I wasted a lot of time doing shit that didn't make me happy. This isn't actually, I'm not happy. And by that time, it's too late. You can't go back.
I mean, and it's really not ever the end of the line until you're like 60, 70 years old. Like there's still people out there that are trying to remake or make something for themselves that are in their 40s and 50s. So people think that they're, if you're having an existential crisis at 23, you need to realize how fucking easy you have it now. Like right now, it's the easiest it's ever been.
Oh yeah, you can literally wake up and just change. Like
you have tons of time.
You have that option, and like,
you have tons of time.
It's okay.
And it's not even that. It's just like, it's the easiest it's ever been to make $1 million. It's the easiest it's ever been to, if I want to talk to somebody in India right now, I can do that. So if I can use that for good, or if I can use that to make me money as a young kid, as an 18 to 25-year-old, like right now trying to figure out how to make it for themselves. Like if you're listening right now up to this point, and this goes for literally everybody that's got a debit card and an idea, you could be making yourself a ton of money through, Amazon drop shipping or Facebook ads, marketplace items, Shopify. There's so many different ways for a young person who is between 16, I'm going to go lower. I'm going to say 16 to 25, 16 to 30, 16 to 50, that you could literally just be doing things and making a tiny bit of passive income, selling stuff on eBay. Go to garage sales and go look at stuff from your childhood. See if you can't find an old toy, an old Gundam. I found an old Gundam. It was one of the very first 2,000 toys to be produced, and I sold it on eBay for $149.95, and I bought it for $1 when I was in Washington. So there's so many different ways for people to get ahead. You don't have to sit there at your 9-to-5 job and make minimum wage, having some asshole yell at you for not stocking the shelf correctly. If you want something bad enough, you can literally make it happen. And I think that from your perspective, it's actually a lot more encouraging to see that against a shitload of odds, because most of the time people don't see the odds stacked against them. You live with the odds stacked against you every day. And I think that's really incredible that you're able to take yourself and put yourself in a positive position to inspire other people to do better.
Yeah, and I think I've seen a lot of people kind of under the impression that you just play it safe for your entire life and then something good will happen.
Hell no.
And that's...
Hell no.
I mean, if that's what you want, but I understand the safety net of having a 9-to-5, a steady paycheck. I get that. More if that's what works with you, that's what works. Amen. Power to you. But if you're not happy, fucking just do something else. But it's scary.
Take some risks. Make the jump.
I mean, it's better to try and live a bit than hate yourself.
Regret is poison.
It's terrible.
Regret is it's poison. The fear of failure is so overplayed. Just fail. It's okay to fail. The regret of not swinging the bat is so much greater than swinging and striking out.
Oh yeah.
So it's one of those things that you have to build yourself. And I'm super empathetic to people not wanting to encounter failure at any capacity. I understand that. But if you just take tiny steps every day, or for you, little micro rolls towards your goal every single day, you're going to get there faster than the person that's sitting there complaining about it, scrolling through Instagram, that's fucking sad that they're not looking the way that they look or making the amount of money that they want to make or as happy as they want to be. People are fucking depressed in this generation because all they do is look at the shit they don't have and are constantly being told that they need it.
Yeah. Yeah, people are really big into dream. I don't know how else to put it. I guess
dream culture.
Yeah, they just
dream culture.
looking
Start
at
a new
things.
thing.
that they want and not going after it.
You don't realize like how easy this game is that we're playing right now. Like, we're playing a really easy game. You just keep rolling the dice and keep making moves, and it eventually gets you where you want to be at the end of the day. Like, if you ever think about giving up, just realize like how much it would suck to be 50, 60 years old, you know, at the end point of your life, thinking about all the shit that you could have done. And I think another thing, I'm going to stop mentioning Gary Vee, because as much insight as he brings me, it might seem a little bit fanboyish, but you know, if you really want some perspective, go to a nursing home and talk to somebody who's truly at the end of their life, 80s, 90s years old. Just ask them what they regret about. Like, you ask them if they have any regrets. If you can find yourself sitting down to talk to some of these people who truly regret, truly feel that feeling of regret, if it doesn't pierce your soul and get you motivated, I don't know what will. Because that's somebody who's literally going through what you're going through right now, except at the end of their life where they can't do anything about it. So, having that said, what is one thing, somebody who's in your position, worse, a little bit better, what would you say to them to start, like, to get them on the path to making themselves happier despite all the odds being stacked against them?
I'm gonna look at it as if I was talking to myself back then.
A younger version of yourself, that would be a better...
I wish somebody would have been able to explain to me that nobody has their shit figured out. No, as much as everybody like puts off this image of like, yeah, I know what I'm doing, man. I know it. I got this going. I got that going. I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be doing that. I'm happy-go-lucky, man. Fucking, it's all sunshines and rainbows over here. Fuck that. No, it's not. Everybody has shit. Everybody has baggage. Everybody has fears, worries, insecurities. And that's okay. That's fine. You know, it's just about how you interpret it and how you deal with it. And if you have a desire for something and you want to do that, even if you don't think like it's going to resonate with the people around you or something like that, fuck it, just do it, man. Because there's going to be somebody.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Truly, I mean, I don't think I could have said it better myself. You know, there's always going to be somebody that's going to appreciate something that you do. And you have to take the embers and make it into a wildfire. Okay? Because if you just sit there and expect for it to happen, it may never come. And you might be cold for a very, very long time. But I appreciate you having this conversation with me. It was a ton of fun. Is there anything that you would like to say, plug, anything that you're doing that you want people to look out for? Because I'm going to have everything related to you in the description and, of course, on screen. So, is there anything that you want to get out there?
I'm going to be starting my own little talk show thing with me and my mother. Okay. Which I don't know if you've seen any of our interactions with each other. We have
talking a lot of shit to her about her cooking, and I thought that was I thought that was really funny.
Yeah, we have a very good chemistry, so everybody's been kind of like looking forward to me and her doing a bigger project of sorts, and I'm getting that going. It's already like first episode's recorded. I don't know if it'll be out by the time this is out, but it might be. It'll be on my channel if it is. So.
Perfect. Well, the link to that will be in the description down below. And as always, thank you for listening. This was Cripp Daddy, Young Cripp. And it'll be at his Twitter in the description below. And I will see you guys next time. Stay tuned.
Thank you for having me, man.
Of course.